Hello and welcome to Serata's Data Migrator webinar. I'm Danny Keating. I run the alliances side of things internationally for Serata. Pablo, did you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Pablo Bárcenas. I'm a solutions architect here at Serata, and I've been working in projects with Oracle to move, BDA to BDS clusters.
And as discussed, and thank you for joining, we're here today to discuss Oracle migrations, predominantly focused around Oracle Big Data Appliance to the Big Data Cloud Service. We will be touching on some of the sort of other abilities that we can leverage when we discuss the data migrator capability and the kind of idea of enabling Oracle to move into the notion of leveraging the Big Data Cloud Service for not only Big Data Appliance, but also some of those other Hadoop big data type workloads that you may have knocking around in other areas of your environment. So it's been quite a journey for Oracle, and actually I started mine over 10 years ago, predominantly focused on helping organizations move database workloads into the cloud and those Exadata capabilities in the early days as well. And what we've seen through sort of organizations moving towards a much larger data estate, predominantly around sort of unstructured data and starting to get disparate sources and different sources of data coming into their environments, we've seen the need for organizations like Oracle to react to their customers' requirements. And we saw the initial reach into that market through the Big Data Cloud Appliance. And that was over 10 years ago now, and very much focused on premise solutions and very much wrapped up in that sort of big data world that we were all discussing 10 years ago, and those Hadoop type workloads. What Oracle have seen and transitioned to is they've seen their customers move, and we've seen it firsthand in numerous global opportunities that we've worked alongside Oracle, whether it be in banking, media organizations, financial insurance companies, and across the ecosystem and different verticals, is that there is a need for and a recognition for Oracle to recognize customer needs and start to act towards developing that big data cloud service in line with some of the fantastic work they've done with the sort of second gen OCI products. And that's now coming to fruition as we start talking about the end of life for the on-premise big data appliances. So we've mentioned, and we've kind of, as we've discussed, that Oracle have reacted, and we've seen that OCI expansion and growth in their market. And, OCI, I think, is one of the fastest growing cloud platforms around at the current moment in terms of consumer numbers and the amount of growth they're having in data being moved to it. And Oracle have reacted well with the reaction around sort of data lakes and the traditional data warehouse, some of those being sort of the on-prem database systems, and the Oracle Big Data Appliance and the autonomous data warehouse. And we've seen that Oracle understanding their data needs from their customers, their capabilities around helping organizations and working with some of the largest customers on the planet. But there is a need and requirement, and kind of where I talked earlier on at the beginning of the webinar, that need to not only recognize customers' data problems from 10 years ago and that expansion and growth of big data appliances, but also that need now to start understanding, do I have a cloud error environment coming out of date? Can I leverage big data cloud service elsewhere in my organization? So whilst we are talking about that migration from big data appliance, there is that need and reaction when we discuss the big data cloud service to realize that there is a platform there that is capable and should be considered when talking to your customers or deciding what your next move is in terms of an enterprise data architecture that's ready for cloud in your own environments. Oracle stopped producing big data appliances in early 2021. And like we said, the premise of this webinar and some of the information that we've been putting out is around that need to replace or think about what you're going to do next from a big data appliance. Support ends on the 30th of January. Oracle provides a zero downtime migration, and Pablo is going to be talking about this as we get into depth into our capability. For structured database, they needed the solution to emulate this from an unstructured perspective, and that's where Cirata come in. That's where our capability is. And if you're familiar with the Oracle space, think of us as a Golden Gate type tool for unstructured data. So the legacy approaches to cloud migration. I'm not going to dwell on this. We all know this in terms of the lift and shift type methodology, the incremental copy and the dual pipeline. We all understand that there's migration issues and lag in terms of whether or not we're requiring that data to be live, and what do we do if we've got systems reporting on premise. We need a copy in the cloud. We want to take advantage of that elasticity that cloud offers us. How do we leverage that whilst maintaining on-premise up-to-date systems and start feeding that data into the cloud? And like I said, that's kind of where Cirata start really coming in and adding our value from a migration perspective. But not only that, also then start looking at how we can continuously replicate in environments, whether you're looking to dual run or whether you're looking to drop your on-prem workload at some point and actually continuously run through multiple lake houses in some instances we see in customers, or in multiple environments.
Thank you, Danny. So, as Danny mentioned, there is this need to move your non-structured data from on-prem to the cloud, to the big data service that Oracle offers. And the problem that they saw is that the traditional methods will not work for customers who have really big or extremely busy clusters on premises. So what we provide as Cirata is a solution that can start moving data while you are still running workloads in your on-prem cluster. So you don't need to stop working. We do what is called a single pass migration. So we scan the initial data. We are not in path. We do not create workloads in your clusters or map reduce workloads or whatever. We are going against the storage and we are pulling the data. So again, if you have your applications running, your cluster is already overtaxed, and this is one number one reason you want to move, we do not create any issues, additional issues on your source. Now, one of the greatest benefits that we have is what we call live migrations, which allows you to continuously replicate changes as they are happening on your on-prem cluster. This gives you two advantages. One of them is that you can distribute the migration of the data across your day. Instead of having to wait for a maintenance window, now you only have 2 hours, 4 hours to do a batch process to move the data. We distribute all that workload through the day. So it is a far more efficient model on using your storage and using your network. The other benefit of this, and we have seen this in projects where disaster recovery is really, really, really important, as it should be, is that recovering from a problem or a failure, it's reduced to a few minutes. And the reason of that is that you are only a minute or a few seconds from having exactly the same information on the target as it was in the source. So it gives you an ability to recover a lot faster. Mm-hmm. And another benefit is we are a self-contained package solution. You do not need to do scripting. You don't need to build pipes or anything. Pretty much the solution is ready to go. So the benefits, and as we compare them to other approaches, is first of all is continuity. Again, we move the data as it's being created or as it's being modified on your source cluster. We move it immediately into your target. So you have a really low RPO, RTO. We scale. We have customers, who who come in the ranges of 25, 50 terabytes to 5, 7 petabytes. So we can move data across, the whole spectrum. And as I mentioned, we have the live migration capability. So it's a continuous migration process. So, and you don't need to do deltas or, true ups of the data that once as it is migrated or as it has been migrated. So you are in no pressure whatsoever to turn off your BDA cluster while you migrating your applications. And so you can be doing the replication, moving the data, working on your on-prem, and you can start working on your cloud cluster as we keep synchronizing the data in the background until you are done migrating your applications. And then that day you can turn off your BDA and just everything you need will be on your BDS cluster.
Yeah, and it's just worth noting there, Pablo, just in terms of the sizes of migrations, our largest migration was over 25 petabytes in a telco, and that actually took their migration timeline down from 24 months down to 12, enabling the business to leverage and realize greater value in not only savings through platform, but also then enabling AI and machine learning into driving revenues as well. So there is that capability to expand through scale and size and speed that makes the tool unique.
Thank you. So the benefits of bringing all this technology is, first of all, projects get completed on time. We've seen that it's a 50% time reduction when compared to other technologies. Since there is a lot less of intervention, a lot of planning and managing and walking around your users, your application, all that, the projects tend to be simple, which reduces also the cost of the project on itself. And as I mentioned, there is no disruption on your existing operations. So again, very low impact on your users, very low impact or in your on-prem cluster, and then you can start working on your BDS as things are happening. So some of the projects that I've been part of, we have, the BDA to BDS data modernization projects on just getting out of BDA and moving everything into the cloud. We have customers who have uses for disaster recovery and, doing cross-region data protection. So spreading their, in case something horrible happens in one region, they are minutes away from being back into production. And we also have projects that were done from on-prem to multi-cloud or different clouds to OCI. So we do not only replicate into the HDFS storage of BDS, we can also do, for example, Oracle Cloud Storage, and then bring data from different sources into the Oracle ecosystem. We work together with the Oracle Cloud Live Services. Most of the time, actually, there will be the team that you will be interacting with. They know our platform left and right, and they have cookbooks, on how to deploy it. They are an extremely efficient team to work with. They specialize on rapid deployment, keeping you up to date and monitoring what's going on, and doing a final verification on everything is where it should be. We're ready to go. So at a high level, the architecture that we use is you have your BDA cluster. In an edge node within that cluster, you deploy our application, and then you allow our application to communicate to your BDS cluster in OC. As I mentioned before, we do not install anything on your name nodes. We do not run any workloads in there. Again, we sit on an edge node, we sit on-prem, and then we do the communication. Now, the benefits of also being on-prem is that we are not a SaaS solution. Your data is not going to go to somebody else's cloud and then jump back into OCS. It's a direct connection between your on-prem environment to the Oracle cloud. That gives a lot of control to you on how this communication happens, how the security for this communication has to be implemented, and so forth. So it makes, again, it's a cleaner, simpler architecture than other solutions out there. Now, when we work with the Oracle team, and I stole this slide from the Oracle Lift team, this is where we sit in the overall project. So we have your data, you deploy one or two, as many as needed, instances of data migrator, and then you define, your source, your targets. You define your rules, exclusion rules. If you're going to do remapping paths, whatever you need to do. You define also your metadata migration. So you move HDFS, you move your Hive metadata into the proper Oracle environment. And here is, once we move the data, it can be to the Hadoop ecosystems, it could be directly into object storage. You can now take advantage of that, or you can take advantage of all the other services that Oracle provides. So you can now, as Danny was mentioning, now you can start looking into new workloads around machine learning. You can take advantage of the autonomous data warehouse. So again, you are now sitting within the Oracle environment, and all we're doing.
Yeah, it's just worth jumping in on that and saying that one of the biggest issues we see in our customer space and partners, when we're talking to our SI partners, and quite often a lot of the issues around whether it's Cloudera on site, on premise, Hadoop, or in the BDAs, is that restriction around scalability and the elasticity that cloud environments offer you. So when we're really starting to now dig into sort of some of the data and AI capabilities that Oracle provide, it's that restriction around us being able to leverage that and being able to leverage some of those cloud services are one of the major reasons as to why organizations are looking to move sort of HDFS file-based format data into the cloud, so we can now start leveraging that data and start getting real business value from it.
So now I would like to show you a small video on how this migration looks like. For this demo, I used a CDH cluster, a Cloudera cluster, to move the data into my BDS environment. But pretty much it's exactly the same solution or the same approach that we do with BDA, which BDA it's your everyday Hadoop cluster. So let's get started. Today, we're going to look at replicating data and metadata from an on-prem CDH cluster to an Oracle Big Data Service or BDS ODH cluster running in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure or OCI. Here, we can see our CDH cluster running on-prem. When we go to View in our CDH cluster, we can see that we have a database called BDA1. We can also see that we have a table into this database and that we already have some data in it. On the Oracle side, we have our OCI console, and here we can see our BDS cluster. In this cluster, when we go to View, we can see that we only have the default databases.
This is the Cirata Data Migrator, or LDM UI. The process to enable our data and metadata transfer starts by creating a source and a target file systems. In this instance, I have already created the resources that we need. So here I have my source file system, and here I have my BDS cluster. If I wanted to add a new file system, all I have to do is go here, select the type of system I want to add, and then enter the values that are required for its configuration. In the case of the MetaStore agents, I have here also my source agent and my data agent talking to my BDS cluster. Similar as with adding a file system, all I have to do to add a MetaStore is indicate the file system that is going to be related with, and then enter the appropriate configuration for the file system. The next step that we need to do after adding our data and metadata agents is to create our migrations. We will start by creating our data migration. So the first step is to add a friendly name to the migration, indicate our source and target, then direct the migration to where our source data is, make a migration type live. This will allow for continuous replication of our data. And finally, we will auto start the migration and create it. As you can see, our migration now is in a live status. That means the initial data has been migrated, and we are monitoring the file system in case any changes happen, and then those will be migrated or replicated. The next step is to add our metadata migration. So first, we select here. We give a friendly name to it. We select our source, our target. We indicate a pattern that we're going to be using for the database and also the tables. And as before, I'm going to start the migration automatically. And just like our data transfer agent, our migration, metadata migration, is in a live state. Let's go back to Hue in BDS. If we now look at our databases, we can see now that the BDA1 database has been replicated. And if we look at the context of the table that we have, we can see that we have exactly the same information that we have in our CDH cluster. Going back to our CDH cluster, we will add more data to our database. And here we can see that the new data has been added to our table. Going back to our ODH cluster, we can see that our table has already been updated, and it reflects the same amount of data as in our on-prem cluster. This completes our demonstration. Thank you for your time.
So, as you could see, the primary of the benefits that you get from using our platform is quick and easy to deploy. It's a completely self-service experience. You control, you decide what gets moved, when it gets moved, you define your priorities depending on your user, your applications, the data structure that you have. We have the ability of doing live replications, which means it's a continuous replication process. And as I mentioned earlier, this makes it far more efficient than any other approach on moving from your on-prem environment to the Oracle Cloud Service. We do HDFS data, hide migrations, to move your metadata. As also mentioned earlier, we support different source and targets. So we could move, your on-prem storage to the Oracle Cloud Storage. The data can be moved on HDFS. We could move it to OCS. And again, we give you the flexibility of deciding how you aggregate, how you move the data across your network, and what you exactly do with it. And as we mentioned earlier, we do these migrations at any scale. And again, projects that I have worked with directly, they have a big range. And as Danny mentioned, we have done clusters around 25 petabytes. So again, you get the benefit of that experience. And we do provide you, different ways to control the process. Again, you could use our interfaces and just go with it, or some customers love to use Python to script things and, just start up and working. And again, that's it. So we'd like to open the floor for some questions. So if you could please type them in the Q&A chat window. So the first question that I see is, can you move to OCS instead of BDS? The answer is yes. We have a couple of customers who have done that. So moving from their HDFS on-prem storage to their cloud storage to object storage. So yeah, we have done that. And as I mentioned, we support different types of sources and targets, and we can enable this type of approach.
I guess, Pablo, then just on that note, if we've got customers that potentially are running already in an alternative cloud, and an Oracle customer or partner are looking to consolidate and move to OCS, BDS, Serata are able to pick up from, let's say, an Azure platform or an AWS platform or a Databricks and migrate and bring to Oracle Cloud.
So the other question that I have is, with Oracle offer migration tools or resources for transitioning from BDA? The answer is yes. As I mentioned before, we work together with the Oracle Leaf team. They operate as a service and they run this type of projects. So you will have resources from Oracle. You will have their consulting customer success teams helping you all the way through or across the project.
So just to clarify that, the de facto option when coming off of BDA to BDS is the migration tool is Serata. That's the preferred tool of choice. So we have a commercial framework agreement that enables us to be able to run proof of concepts and small sort of migration projects, and some of those have been sort of taken advantage of. So there is a commercial framework there between ourselves, the Lift services team, and the resell organization as well, that enable customers to migrate. So yeah, I guess the question is answerable by the fact that the de facto choice in these instances is Serata from a standardized migration perspective.
Next question is, how does the end of life of Oracle BDA align with Oracle's big data strategy? So Danny, if you want to take that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think all With the development of big data cloud services, the additional adoption of the AI and AI capabilities that Oracle are bringing into all aspects of a customer's journey through their data lifecycle, we're starting to see that requirement and the need for Oracle to invest in this area. And we see that with the big data cloud service. This isn't an end of life, let's walk away from the big data appliances. There's an investment made, there's recognition that they need to go out. And, from me, having been in the Oracle ecosystem for a long time prior to me moving into data, for Oracle to recognize and understand that there's organizations like ourselves out there that are able to help companies move to and leverage services is a fantastic shift in dynamics from Oracle, from where they were sort of 10, 15 years ago. And that ability to be able to leverage ISV tools like ourselves show that the big data strategy is clearly important to them. And the acceleration of customers' adoption is highly up on the agenda as well.
Thank you.
Cool.
So we are, out of time. So we just want to thank you for joining us to talk about how we can help you move from your BDA on-prem cluster to Oracle BDS in the cloud using Cirata Data Migrating.